Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro model A2141. Model number's right there. Okay, so the customer asked me to redo the thermal paste and replace the battery. So let's go ahead and take this thing apart. We're going to be using, I'm not going to be putting a whole list of the screwdrivers, so make sure to follow along. Hopefully you get a good screwdriver set. You can use like the small one from like iFixit, and that will have all the bits you need. We're going to be using a P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screwdriver to undo the screws from the bottom. Alright, here we go. We'll take these out. And some people ask me like what specific screwdriver sizes. Usually you don't want to go based on just specific screwdriver sizes. You want to actually get a nice set and then make sure whichever screwdriver fits the best, that's the one you want to use. Okay, you want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So there's 6 screws. We'll get them all out. If this video helps you out, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. If you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. I also have another channel called It's Been Reviewed and More. If you could subscribe to that one, same profile picture but zoomed in, that will really help me out. All right, anyways, now that we got all the screws out, I like to use a suction cup, okay? And we're just gonna go from the kind of front where the MacBook opens. We'll go there and we'll pull up. Once you pull up, you'll get a little gap here between the cover and the palm rest. Get in there with your fingers or fingernails and then pull up on this while pushing down the bottom cover. You wanna work your way up to the side here, okay? So go like that, you'll hear it click. We'll rotate the MacBook and we'll do the same to the other side, okay? There's also clips in the middle, but usually once you get the 2 side ones up, the whole thing will pop up. If it doesn't, then there you go, pop it up like that. All right, now that you got all those clips popped up, what I do is I'll get my fingers in here, I'll hold on that and I'll pull down. You can also push down on this area here and then wrap your fingers around so that the MacBook doesn't fall over. So just pull down like this. It's going to take a lot of force. So I pulled down pretty hard and it didn't go anywhere. Usually if it doesn't go anywhere, I'll go to the other side and then do that a little bit. And then we'll just continue going from one side to the other. There you go. This side went out. Wow, it's super dusty in here. So we're going to have to clean that up. Okay, now that we got the thing out, once you get one side, the other side comes out really easily. But look at that. Oh my God, look at all that dust. No wonder why the customer wanted me to clean out the fans. So we'll redo the thermal paste. The thing with Apple, they like to put the screws for the, for the heat sinks on the bottom. So that's going to be annoying. Anyways, here you go. That's what it looks like. The customer wanted some close-ups, so look how gross that fan is there. Okay, look how gross that fan is there. Jeez. Okay, anyways, let me do that and I'll be back. Also, this is really dusty. Okay, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. Here you can see, much less dusty. Much less dusty. Alright, so set that aside. Here you can see the fan much cleaner now. Okay, there you go, and the other fan. Alright, so we're going to have to completely disassemble this thing not to replace the battery, but to redo the thermal paste. So first thing we're going to do is peel this up. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, going to just carefully pull on this. Okay, there we go. We'll set that aside. And now we're going to disconnect the battery. So the battery connector is right here. Okay, lift that up. And actually, let me make sure, because I probably should have done that first, but okay, I guess it was off because now it's turning itself on. Did not want to turn it on, but that's good because now you can see that the screen's working okay. All right, I held the option key so that it wouldn't actually start up the computer. Now I'm just gonna hold the power button to shut it off. All right, there we go. Now let's go ahead and disconnect the battery. So first thing after doing removing that thing, you flip this little latch. I don't know if you saw with my finger, I just flipped it up. Then we'll grab this cable and just pull it back just like that. All right, so at this point, part of the battery is disconnected, but there's actually a second connector. We're gonna use a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver to undo that screw, okay? Apple likes to use lots of different screwdrivers, so keep that in mind. You're going to need a lot of different screwdrivers, which is why I say it's always nice to get a whole set. Don't just buy one screwdriver bit at a time. Not only is it going to be a lot nicer and more convenient whenever you have to open anything, but it's going to be cheaper, okay? Buying one screwdriver, you might think you're saving some money, but in the long run, you're going to be buying like 50 different screwdrivers, and then they're going to be all in a drawer, and you're not going to have a fun time looking for the right ones that you need. Okay, now what we're going to do, I technically don't need to remove the screen, so I'm going to leave the screen in there attached. Yeah, I'm going to leave the screen attached, but I do have a screen removal video if you want to see that. We do need to disconnect the screen though. So after disconnecting the battery, one thing I like to do, which is very good habit, is to press and hold the power button to drain any residual power. All right, this drains any power that's stored in the capacitors and things like that, and makes it a lot safer to work on. You don't have to do this step, but I mean, it's a few seconds to save, or what do you call, reduce the risk of possibly hundreds to thousands of dollars of damage. So just do that. Takes a few seconds. All right. Okay. Now we have a T5 screwdriver still. Usually all the ones in these little covers are going to be T3, Torx 3. Sometimes, yep, these motherboard ones are going to be T5 or Torx 5. We're going to do the T3, Torx 3 screwdrivers first. And we're going to remove this little plastic cover here, okay? Again, we're using a T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. And I'll let you know whenever I switch the screwdriver. But again, you want to check your screwdriver set because sometimes the screwdrivers aren't made properly. So after you remove the screws, lift it up and pull that out, okay? And sometimes the sizes aren't right. So I always like to say, if you see like the screwdriver bit wobbling in the screw, then there's a chance that you can use a larger bit and it will be better, okay? Less dangerous. So I'll remove these two screws. Actually, let me zoom in here. Let's see. I don't know how much I can zoom in because I'm going to have to move this thing around and it might get in the way of the stuff on my desk. Right, so we'll remove the second screw here. Okay, then we can take this piece off. We'll set that aside. This is the headphone jack, audio jack. To get this connector out, just use your fingernail or one of those plastic, nylon, whatever, spudger pry tools to undo that connector, and then now you can get that out. There's this little connector here. This is for the Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Make sure you pull that out. It's also for the power button. So if you break that cable, you're not going to be able to turn your MacBook on. Well, if you're lucky, you might be able to turn it on by just plugging in the power, and then it will detect to turn it on. But yeah, just be careful. Don't break that. Also, if you replace that button, you lose Touch ID. Apple says it's a security thing, so I'm assuming it's so that the fingerprint thing doesn't just send like that's a valid fingerprint no matter what you press or something. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get that out. Okay, so the fingerprint sensor is paired to the MacBook itself. All right, then we're gonna disconnect the USB-C connector here. Again, just lifting underneath. I just use my fingernails. Some people tell me cut my fingernails. You see, when they break, I cut them. But other than that, these are very useful tools. Why would I cut them off? All right, anyways, we got this connector here. We're going to go ahead and flip this latch and then pull that out. I forget what this is for. It's either microphone or part of the touch bar. Was this a touch bar MacBook? Yeah, it's either the fingerprint, it's either a microphone or a fingerprint, or the touch bar thing. Anyways, we're going to disconnect this fan over here. So same thing, there's a little connector, flip that latch up. This can be a little tricky. Sometimes there's a little adhesive under there, so I get underneath with one fingernail here and one over here, and then try and just lift it up, okay? And then pull it back. And actually, in this case, the adhesive, was there adhesive? I don't know. If there was adhesive, it peeled itself up just because the cable was kind of pulling itself up. All right. Next, again, we're taking only the T3 screws right now. There might be some T3 screws in the motherboard, which I think I already see one in this corner. But we're just going to take out the connector so we don't get mixed up or confused. Okay, so we'll get out this one next. This is for the screen, LCD, LVDS, whatever you want to call this connector. I don't know. They have different names. I don't know what the names of all these things are, the proper names. So If you want to be like, that's called this, feel free to tell me that, or say it in the comments, I don't know, and maybe if you're lucky, I'll start using that language. Alright, anyways, we'll remove this connector, or this screw as well. Okay, now that we got those out, these ones are longer, so don't mix them up. We can go ahead and pull this out. Okay, make sure you don't flip it upside down either, okay, because it's very easy to accidentally put it the wrong way. You can see how this side faces the heatsink, and then this side that's just a big gap faces the connector itself. All right, we do need to remove the connector thing here, so there's a metal plate. Lift that off, take that out, set that aside. Okay, sorry, I knocked a screw over. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull up the LCD, LVDS connector, whatever you wanna call it, screen connector, I don't know. All right, what else? Again, we're sticking with the T3 Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and remove this one as well because the screw's somewhat underneath there that we need to remove later. So we'll get those two screws out. And then we'll take the little cover of this out as well. Set that aside. Okay, we got these two little screws holding this. This is for the, what do you call that sensor? I forget the word, sorry. But it's so that the computer knows if the screen's open or closed. Anyways, we're gonna lift this up and remove that. Okay, if the word comes back to my mind, I'll mention it. Anyways, there's the connector there. We're gonna lift that and get that out. Okay, so disconnect that. Be very careful. If you break this cable, either your MacBook's not gonna sleep at all, or it's gonna be permanently on even if you close the screen. Or what did I say? It's gonna be permanently asleep, or it won't sleep at all. There you go. Anyways, we'll flip this one up, and this I believe is for the touch bar as well. Okay, we got two more here for the USB-C ports on this side. All right. There you go. We'll flip this up. Some person not too long ago got upset that my language for the components is very simple. And they're like, you're using the wrong terms. How am I mean, okay, if you're a professor or a doctor, you don't need someone to call the heart or whatever. I don't know, what is lungs is pulmonary, or heart is, I don't know, whatever. You don't need someone to say that. If they say lungs, you should know what that is, right? Or if somebody says the organ that helps you breathe, you should know what that is. Like, you don't need special terms to understand. So it's actually better to use simple language, because then you help more people understand what's going on. I don't know why doctors like to use special terms to make things confusing. Anyways, peel that up, flip that latch, and pull this out. This might actually be the microphone. Once we pull the motherboard out, we'll see. Okay? But yeah, I don't know why doctors like to use fancy terms like that. So it's like, you're like, I have a what? And you're like, oh, that's just our way of saying you have a headache. It's like, okay. Anyways, flip this latch up. And then this has adhesive, so you want to be careful here. It does help to use for these something like this to get underneath, because you want to peel it close to the adhesive, okay? So what I do is peel it, I twist like this, and then I push it down, and then I twist again. So that way we're peeling as close to the stuck down area of the adhesive instead of like pulling back here to try and peel this up, okay? So this helps. All right, once you peel up all the adhesive, then you can go ahead and pull this back, just like that. And these, when we go to put it back, it's gonna help to have a little bit of tape so that you can kind of tape it up out of the way, because dropping the motherboard down, or logic board, whatever you wanna call it, it's gonna be tricky with all these cables trying to flop back over and go underneath. So yeah, you might wanna have a roll of tape ready as well. Okay, we're gonna undo the screws for this connector. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll get that and this one. All right, now that we've got those out, we'll go ahead and get this out. And then we'll pop this, just like that. All right, and again, we'll see what all these connectors are once we lift the thing. I think this might also be part of the touch bar. I think there's like 2 or 3 connectors for the touch bar. All right, then we got the speaker cable here. We do have to peel up this adhesive because it's blocking the connector. Flip that latch and then pull this back just like that. There's that fan connector. Get that out. Oh, sorry, the speaker. Why did I call it a fan connector? That's the left speaker. It's on the right side because we're looking at the laptop upside down, obviously. Oh, all their crumbs are getting crunchy on here. Sounding. That sound is because I have a glass thing I'm working on. Okay, anyways, this did somebody work on this before? It's missing the little plastic tab that's taped on top. So anyways, flip that latch and then we're gonna have to pull this out, but since the tab's not there, it's gonna be a little more tricky. Get something underneath and then use that to help pull it back. Okay, just like that. All right, what else? We got the touchpad, trackpad connector. We're gonna remove that as well. Okay, and also you wanna be careful not to get the screws too close to the computer when you're working on it because there are magnets in here and the magnets are gonna like pick up the screws and then you'll be like, where'd all the screws go? So be careful. Also they'll get mixed up and then you'll get mixed up. So anyways, remove this connector cover and then we'll go ahead and pop this connector. This is again for the touchpad. We're actually going to remove the touchpad as well because the customer wants me to replace the battery. I do have videos where I replace the battery without taking the whole board completely out. So if you want to just replace the battery, I do have a video showing that without having to pull the whole board out. You do have to undo the screws so that you can lift the board slightly, but you don't have to take the board out and you don't have to worry about the cables and connections getting all stuck under the motherboard. So it makes it a lot more simple. All right, we're going to disconnect now the keyboard connector here. So we'll peel this back just like this. Once you peel that up, we'll flip this latch. And then you can go ahead and pull this connector out. Okay, I think we got most of the oh shoot, okay. We do have to remove one of the parts for the screen area. We're gonna have to remove the wireless antennas. So we're gonna have to actually do a lot of the screen replacement steps as well. We're gonna switch over to a P2 or pentalobe 0.8 screwdriver. And we're going to undo all these screws here. Okay, again, hopefully you're keeping all the screws in order. There are a lot of them. And if you mix them up, again, you can damage the computer. Okay. And it's always best to start with the larger screwdriver to make sure it fits the spot and then switch to a smaller one if it doesn't. Because if you use one that's too small and you try and turn it, you can actually damage the head of the screw, and then you won't be able to remove the screw anymore. Alright, so we'll continue removing these. I've had some of these screws that were so tight that when you try and undo them, it actually broke the tip of some of my screwdrivers. That was pretty crazy. It's like someone super glued them in or something, I don't know. And I've never seen that happen before. Then I had to get special screwdriver bits that were softer material but less brittle, and I was able to undo it with that. Instead of it breaking the tip of my screwdriver, it kind of twisted the metal a little bit. That was crazy. Okay, anyways, we'll continue removing all these screws. We do have to undo the T5 or Torx 5 screws to get this antenna thing out. We'll get all of these first. Okay, now we got all the screws holding the antenna down. We're going to go ahead and get the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay. And we're going to undo a bunch of screws here. So there's 4 screws up here that we're going to need to remove. Let me actually zoom in again. Okay, so we'll remove these 4 screws. One here, one here, one here. I don't think I need to remove the 2 on here and the 2 on here, but we'll see. If I remember correctly, I shouldn't need to, because that's underneath. yeah, I don't need to remove that. Okay, so now that we got all of that, we can also, or we will also have to undo this screw here. So there's a screw here holding that, the wireless antennas down. Let's remove that. Okay, now that we got all those screws out, you can see this thing is floppy now. We do have to undo the wireless antennas before we pull the connector or the antenna out. So I go underneath as close as I can to the tail and then pop it up just like that. Okay, so as close to the tail as possible, and then just pop it like that. And this side, because it's curving that way, we'll probably have to go from here and pop that. Okay, so now these connectors are loose. All right, let's go ahead and pull the antenna board out. Takes a little bit of force, but yeah, just go slow. Okay, so I'll go from here. The wireless antennas have these little air vent holes so that the fan can blow air through. I use that as a place to grab, so I'll get under here and I'll pull up, and there we go. Actually, this one came out relatively easily. And then I'll wiggle this to get this connector out. It's going to be a little tricky to get this back up. It helps to use some kind of tweezers or a little hook or needle, but just wiggle this like that. And there we go. There's the antenna bar. We'll set that aside. Okay. And we're getting there. Okay. We still have the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver in. We're going to go ahead and actually switch to, I believe, a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver because we have a couple screws to remove. There's one here holding the heatsink. Yep. Okay. So we'll take that guy out. We got another one over here. Same thing. Remove that. Okay. Then now we'll switch back to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay. And there's going to be a lot of screws, so hopefully you'll be able to keep up with me. I mean, if not, just rewind. Okay. But here we go. We'll remove this one here. Okay. Then we got one down here. I believe this is a T3 screw. So we'll skip that. We'll go over here. Okay. Hopefully I'm not missing any. Sometimes Apple likes to make them hard to see. There's another one over here. Okay, this one we took out already because the fan. Oh, we didn't take out this fan screw. Sorry, not the fan, the wireless antennas from there. Anyways, flip that latch. We do have to disconnect this fan connector as well. Okay. All right, we got another screw here. Oh, that's T3 as well, and I'm pretty sure that's T3 as well. So there's 3 T3 screws holding on the motherboard. We've got another T5 or Torx 5 screw here. Let me see here. I'm mixing up some stuff here, I think. Got that, okay. Gotta line the screws better. Then one more T5 screw here. Okay, now the T3, Torx 3 screws. Again, there's 3 of them. Okay, one down here in this corner. Hopefully you can see. Okay, that one. We got one up here. I don't know, I said up. It's slightly higher, but it's still low. Okay. And then one more in this corner here. All right, and I think we got all the screws and everything out now. Double check, make sure there's no connectors holding it in place. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and zoom out a tiny bit. And now we gotta lift the whole motherboard out. You can get under, I like going from one of these sides, it helps. But anywhere that you can kind of lift underneath works. Then work your way towards the front here, like this. And slowly lift. Again, you wanna be careful because there's all these cables. Oh, it helps also to peel this. There's a little double-sided adhesive holding this down. Okay, and slowly lift. If for some reason it's not lifting, you wanna check why. There might be some connectors like these holding it down. You got to pull those out of the way. Okay, slowly continue working your way, lifting it like this. Okay, and these you'll have to actually slide this behind so the rubber pieces stay down. Okay, so lift this up. You can see now this is on top of the fan, and we'll do the same over here. It helps. There you go. Now that you got that, you can go ahead and carefully slide this out. And there we go. We got the motherboard slash logic board, whatever you want to call it, out. Normally they call this logic board because there's no daughter boards that you can separate from here. It's all one big connector. Okay, or one big device. All right, I'm going to go ahead and brush off the bottom because there is a little bit of dust in here. So I'll clean this a little. I'll be back. We're going to do the thermal paste, okay? So let me go do that real quick, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So let's go ahead and continue here. So we clean this up. And here you can see the touch bar connector. So there's this one, okay? Small one up here, not the one that's for the screen. And then this one here, okay? This is for the microphones here. All right, this one is for, okay, I believe the one here on this side and the one over here are for the keyboard backlight. Okay, so yeah, because those go into the keyboard. This is the keyboard connector, if I didn't already mention that. And yeah, these are replaceable. It's annoying how Apple covered the screws to remove them with the logic board. So if you need to replace your charge ports, you do need to take the entire logic board out. The one good thing is this connector, at least you can lift up while everything else is connected, so you can test to see if the logic board's really or if the connectors really are the issue. All right, anyways, we're gonna set this aside for now. We'll take the trackpad out in a bit, so that way we can get the battery out. Anyways, we'll set that there, and let's go ahead and take a look. So first thing we're gonna do is the thermal paste. Okay, so let me just set down the MacBook somewhere safe here. Okay, all right, so we're gonna flip this over. Also, this cable is removable as well, but they plug this end on the bottom. Also very annoying. Apple just really doesn't want people to work on their devices, or they want them to break stuff in the process. Okay, we're gonna flip this over. I'm gonna zoom in, and this is how you redo or remove the heat sink. So these two bars are just gonna fly away when you unscrew them. Let's see, I think it's a T5 or Torx 5 screw. So let's see, go to the T5, and yeah, okay, so there's that. And then also they hide, I believe the other ones are hidden under here. Yep, you see that? They hide screws under here. They want you to break stuff in the process of working on it. So this, okay, so there's two on this side, and then obviously two on the other side. It's going to be similar. They're going to have the bar, but the bar is going to be kind of stuck to this fabric stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and undo these screws. I'm going to hold this down just so it doesn't fling the screw away. Okay, just like that. And now we'll set the screw aside. Same thing with this one. Now this thing is just going to move around, so make sure to hold that in place. Okay, you don't want it going around and smacking into all the other components on the board. And there we go. There's that metal bar. We'll set that aside. I don't know if there's any right side up or upside down of that, other than having the curved part down towards the thing. All right, now we're going to undo this screw here. Again, hold that down so it doesn't launch the screw out. And we'll take that screw out. And now we'll hold this metal bar again and undo this screw. There we go. Okay, then we have this side as well, same thing, right? Again, you want to make sure to keep the bar from flying up, so keep your finger over that. Or just apply a lot of downward force with your screwdriver. Okay, we got this side. Okay. And the reason I'm doing it in this order is because we want the material not to just separate. Okay, now we'll undo this screw. Since that fabric's holding it, then we'll just do that. All right, and then we'll get this one out. And I'm gonna hold on to this fabric while I undo this. Oh, shoot. I almost dropped it and rolled all my screws away. Okay, and hold this. Okay, there we go. And now we can go ahead and separate this. And this is somewhat held in with adhesive. I don't know if I need to peel it off. I'm just gonna leave it there because it wraps over to the other side here. Okay, so actually, is it gonna fall off? No, it's holding itself. Okay, now that we got those screws out, we flip it over, obviously, so that we can separate the heatsink from here. So you don't want to just pull the heatsink up, okay? You don't want to pull on this because then you'll bend these pipes. What I do is I'll get my fingers, oops, let me zoom out here. Get my fingers here on the board, and then I'll push sideways a little like this, wiggling it. Okay, and that kind of just breaks up the thermal paste. It looks like Apple put a bunch of adhesive holding this down, and that's also part of the heatsink. So I guess we do have to peel this up. Be careful. I grab this and then kind of just roll it kind of this way. Okay, and then once you get it to this square, oh, it looks like there's a little piece here that's not separating, so we'll get under here and lift that. There we go. I think this is like graphene or graphite kind of stuff. All right, then this side, let's see, can this lift now? Okay, we can now fold this over this way. Nice, so we don't have to peel it completely off. And here's the old thermal paste. Customer wanted before and after, so let me show them this. So this is the original thermal paste that Apple uses. I'm going to use a paper towel and wipe that off. It helps to do this upside down over a trash can, so I'm going to flip it like that and then wipe it off. And yeah, I'll be back once I got that all done. Maybe I should peel this. I don't know if it's going to just fall off on its own somewhere. I don't know, it's holding it. Okay, there we go, it's coming off. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Okay, so let me clean this up and I'll be back. It also helps to use like a toothbrush. You can brush it while it's upside down to get all of that stuff off, okay? So let me do that and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. Oh, one other thing, let me show you here. This thermal paste, you can see how bad it is, okay? You see this? It's like crunchy. So it should be like a paste. But you see this, how crumbly it is? Yeah, and I'm not pushing into the metal, but I figured I'll do this so you can kind of see. But yeah, this is how bad the paste was on here. It's so crumbly. I mean, you saw how the fans were. They were just all clogged with dust. So yeah, this is not good. Okay, I'll clean this up and I'll be back. Alright, that's about as much as I was able to get off just by kind of using that plastic tool and a toothbrush. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to use some isopropyl alcohol and paper towel to clean off the rest. Okay, so you just need some small pieces of paper towel. Okay, and then I have a little drip bottle. I mean, you can use anything, but just put some isopropyl alcohol on there. Okay, and then we'll use that to kind of just wipe it off. If you want, you can pour some on there, but I don't like having a bunch of liquid all over the thing, so I like to do it this way. Alright, just like that, and like these. Okay, you can see how kind of gross it's getting. Alright, same thing, continue. And it doesn't need to be like spotless all around. The main thing is that it's where the thing touches the shiny portion here. But if you can get it really clean, That's nice. Okay. Alright, so there's that. Now we're going to go ahead and clean this. You can see the old paste they put, it kind of went completely over and into this black plasticky stuff that they put on there. Okay. Clean that and clean this. Alright. And the paste kind of doesn't completely come off of whatever that black plasticky stuff is, so if you get some stuck there, don't worry about it too much. Okay, we're gonna get another new paper towel, continue, put some more isopropyl alcohol on there, and same thing, wipe that. Okay, again, you can try and wipe this, but kind of won't really come off. I need some dry one and just dry it up. There we go. All right, and I'm going to be replacing this with PTM7950. All right. If you're wondering also, this is the CPU and this is the GPU. Pretty sure, right? Like 99.999%, unless they change the design of components, that should be correct. All right, so again, we're going to use some PTM7950, which it comes in this like sheet thing. This is the one from Linus Tech Tips. If that matters, it shouldn't really matter as long as it's the same kind of material stuff. Okay, and this stuff, while the sheet is pretty expensive, if you actually work on a lot of computers, compared to like thermal paste, I think it's actually cheaper because you can cut exactly how much you need. You don't have to worry about it being the wrong size or anything. And then you can use almost exactly the right amount. So you can see how this, I can see how long of a piece I need, or how wide or how thick of a sheet I need. And we're just gonna cut it to size. Okay, so that piece looks to be right. So you need a marker here. Where'd my marker go? Okay, hopefully this one is good. Okay, so we're gonna use, what was I measuring earlier? Oh, was it this one? So we got this piece. We're gonna line that up, and then we're gonna see, okay, we only need until there. So you basically just mark this, okay? And now we'll just cut this out. And also I'm gonna mark that, so I make sure to take off the film, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, just so I know that the film is there and I need to take it out. Okay, we're gonna use some scissors here, and we're just gonna go ahead and cut this. Just like this. Also, it's okay if you have it a little bit too small cut, because when you put the heatsink on top, it is going to smush it out and spread it even thinner, and the excess is going to spread out. So yeah, don't worry if you get it a tiny bit too small. It's gonna, again, it's gonna spread out. Okay, so is that dust? I might have to, let's see, let's wipe it a tiny bit more. Is that dust, or is that? All right. Make sure there's no dust on there. There we go. Okay. So next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna separate the layers here. It helps to use like some tweezers or something. Okay. And we're just gonna try and separate one of the clear sheets. If the front one doesn't come out, just go and try and do the other side. All right, doesn't matter which side you do first. All right, so there we go. Oops. Okay, peel that off, toss that, and then I like to use the tweezers to help line this up. So we'll get this. Oh, I might need to go the other way. line that up. Stick it down. Oh, I put it a little bit crooked. And there we go. Okay, so there we go. We have that. I'm going to leave that on for now. Okay. And then we'll do the other side. Once we get it all set up, then we'll go ahead and flip it back over, get the screws in, and we should be good to go. So I want to see how thick. It's about that. Okay, this will work best. So go ahead and do that. Line that up. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Now we'll cut this piece off as well. Alright, hopefully I did that right. Got this. We're going to peel that off. Oh, part of it stayed and part of it's going away. So make sure that both sides stay down. Peel that. Oh, a little bit of it wanted to stay, so let's see here. I might have to do a new piece because this one, like a corner of it, tore and disappeared. So let's go ahead and cut a new piece. Okay. I don't know why this marker's not really drawing well, but anyways, let's go ahead and cut this new one. And hopefully we can peel this one off better. Maybe it's better with the tweezers here. Okay. I think maybe because it's the outer edge, it's not peeling as nicely, but yep. Like part of it wants to stay attached. Let's see if I start from this side instead. Okay, I think we can peel this edge up. The hardest part of this is peeling the layer of plastic away. If somebody has a better way to do this, I don't know, let me know. All right, now we got the tweezers in. Peel that off. Oh, maybe that's the trick. Okay. All right. We'll get this lined up. Oh no, it's stuck already. Let go. I didn't push you down. Oh no, it already stuck itself down. See that? It already kind of stuck itself down. All right, we're gonna stick this side. And like I said, it's basically like thermal paste, so even though it's overlapped, you can kind of like scratch at it and it will spread the layer out. Since it has that nice plastic layer on top, you don't have to worry about contaminating that, so it's nice. All right, now that it's flat, we can go ahead and peel off these. Peel off this one. peel off the clear layer, not the other thing. There we go. Okay, so we got that out. That's what it looks like with the new PTM7950 stuff on. All right, we'll zoom out a little bit. And we're just gonna flip this back over on top. Okay, and it kind of lines itself up with the holes. All right, make sure everything looks good and lined up. All right, so now that we got that, we can go ahead and start with this side because it'll be easier. All right, and we'll get this in here. The other thing with this is there's no specific like which one you need to start first. I'll loosely fit that screw first. I screwed it in like 5 times. Then we're gonna push this down and we'll screw this one in. Okay, now we can go ahead and tighten this all the way. Okay, we'll do the same thing with this one. Since the paste already starts out super flat and even, it's not as important like on some other models where you have to do a crisscross kind of screwing in. You can't even do that really on this one. So you gotta just tighten it down as you go. There you go. Oh, I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and get the rest of it in. Might have to plug my phone in. I don't know if the battery's gonna survive. Okay, this goes this way. This will be a little tricky here. We'll get one. Here we go. We'll get this side. Okay, let me plug in my phone real quick, just so the battery doesn't die. Hopefully it won't overheat. It's pretty warm today. Okay, and we'll get this guy in, and get this guy in. That, there we go. Tighten that down, there we go. And the last one. All right, and there we have it. New thermal paste applied. We're gonna go ahead and do the battery now before we go into reassembling this piece. So let's set this aside and let's go ahead and get the battery worked on. Okay, obviously if you just want to see me put this back, then you'll want to skip to that portion of the video, but we're gonna go ahead and do the battery first. So let's go ahead and take the touchpad or trackpad out. We're gonna use the T5 again. All right, I'm probably gonna have to zoom out because now the screws are in the way on my desk. All right, I don't know how far down you can see. All right, let's go ahead and undo the screws holding the touchpad or trackpad in place. And I know I'm gonna get the question if I don't say it, but yes, you do have to take the touchpad or trackpad out unless you wanna risk damaging it, which I guess if you wanna take that risk, you can do it the lazy way, not remove the touchpad, trackpad, risk damaging the circuitry underneath it, and then your touchpad or trackpad won't work. And then after that, you can go ahead and buy another, I don't know, $30 to $120 trackpad, depending on how much they are. I don't know how much the price is going to change over time. And then you can go ahead and replace that as well. Then you're going to have to take it out anyways, right? But now you just wasted a bunch more money. Yay. I don't know. All right. So here we go. I guess there are other methods where you can take it out without the risk of damaging the, what do you call, the circuitry of the touchpad or trackpad. I've seen some people that use like fishing line or dental floss, then maybe you'll be okay doing it, but that way is kind of more difficult. Anyways, we're going to open the MacBook screen now so that we can get this cable to slide through. You want to be very careful because there are little washers on it, and if you're not careful, these things will go flying. Okay, so we got that, and also I guess now we can somewhat clean the edges of the touchpad a little because it's kind of gross. There's stuff stuck to it. See that? I don't know if you can see that. There's like gunk now on my thumbnail. Alright, anyways, so we'll set that aside. Touchpad set aside. And now we got to get the touchpad trackpad out. I am also going to clean this a little. So let me just get this, hold it over my trash can, and we'll dust that out because the touchpad trackpad also has some dust in there. Okay, so I'll do that. Is this step required? No. But how often are you going to have the touchpad out to do this? So might as well do it now. Okay. Use my little... Sorry, I know you can't see anything, but you can hear what I'm doing, I think. And here you go. Now it's much cleaner, right? Right? Okay, there you go. And again, like I said, if you don't take the touchpad out, then when you go to remove the battery, you see these holes here? You'll end up damaging those. Honestly, Apple should have just made this solid metal here. I don't know why they have these holes here. What's the purpose? Does it help with the circuitry? I don't know. Maybe, you see these pieces? Maybe they stick up just enough that they would touch the metal if they don't cut those holes out. So I think that maybe that's what those holes are for. But yeah, if they found a way to make it solid metal, maybe just made little pockets, like little divots in there, that would have been better. But anyways, it's easier to cut, I guess, than to just CNC out the little holes. I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's Apple. They do whatever they want. Okay, and the way I get the battery out is I use this thin little tool. This isn't a knife. It's a spatula kind of thing. Pharmacies use this to kind of scoop up pills. It's a very thin one, as you can see. Okay, so I tried buying a different one, but this one is much thicker, so it doesn't work as well. I had to actually shave the tip on some. I had like a few, and then I shaved the tip down a little. I file it or sand it or whatever. Okay, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and now get the battery out. So the way you do this, again, you use this tool. You can see it bent a little bit over time of using it. If you have a bent one, you don't want it with the curve facing up because then that will dig into the battery. So I put it this way so that way the curve goes into the aluminum instead. So we're just gonna push this in there just like that. Okay, their battery doesn't look that bad, but I don't know if it was giving them errors or what. Or maybe they're just hoping for a little more battery life. Okay, so we'll do that. And just continue going like this. Okay. And then wiggle to pull it out. And just continue going across the entire length of the battery. Sorry if you can't see what's going on. I have to like keep it from smashing into the table as I pull this thing back out. Okay, I guess I can do it this way. And normally I do this with the Logicboard still in there, but since they wanted me to redo the thermal paste, then I took the Logicboard out completely. Okay, there we go. All right, now that we got that one, we can kind of get better access to the one back there by lifting it up like this. And there you go. So we got this out. We're going to go ahead and rotate it, do the other side. Okay, same thing here. And we're basically just cutting through the adhesive. Let me do it this way so maybe it's easier for you to see. Okay. Again, you don't want to use a sharp knife because you don't want to accidentally cut into the battery. and you only want to go straight through this way. The raised lip here forces the tool to tilt downwards, okay? Forces you to tilt it this way. If you use a knife, this part will be so rigid, it will kind of cut into the side of the battery. I've had people tell me that they accidentally cut their battery, and if you're not careful, you can actually start a fire that way. Also, if you're moving the tool like this sideways, you don't want to do that on the part that's still held down with the adhesive, because if you do that, there's a good chance that you're going to cut into the side of the battery. Okay, so if you do push it that way, you can go to where it's not attached anymore, and then you can go ahead and pull it out that way, but usually I just try and pull it straight back. Okay, and I don't know why this adhesive is so strong compared to how it usually is. Oh my god, there we go. Now we can lift this up, and then we'll go ahead and cut the rest of this. Okay, now we have that all lifted up. Good. Okay, now we got these last two. The one nice thing with this is there's a metal barrier here. So what I do is I'll open this, rotate it over. This one has a hole that's big enough that I can actually get the tool in there. But if the tool is too big or you can't, then you basically just start from the, oops, sorry. Then you basically just start from here, okay? So let me show you. You go this way. Same thing, you have the tool. Go in there, and then you just push that in there, like that. Okay, and again, you want to be careful because there are these, oops, sorry. There are these holes here, and if you're not careful, the tool can get jammed in there. Okay, and you don't want to accidentally jam it in there and then cut the screen. Okay, wow, this is really stuck. Okay, there we go. Pull it out. Okay, and this tool wasn't made for this use, but it's what I've been using and it works well. Okay, you can see we lifted up that whole side now. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and do this side. Also, if you're wondering, using like Goo Gone and all that stuff doesn't really help. Some people ask why I don't use something like that. It just makes a gooey mess everywhere. I don't recommend using that. Okay. All right, there we go. Maybe it's because it's hot weather that the adhesive is kind of gooey like that, but there you go. You can lift this. Oh, there's a screw here we do need to remove as well. It's a T5 or Torx 5, I think, actually. Yeah, T5 Torx 5. Sometimes Apple likes to change that to use like a P5 or P2 or something. It's very annoying. All right, so got that out, and we might have to transfer this cable over, so there is one more latch here. Flip that latch, and then you can pull this cable out as well. All right, so now we should be able to lift the battery out just like that. There's the old battery. We'll set that aside. Okay, we do want to peel out as much of this old adhesive as we can. Okay, so the adhesive here, usually I just use my fingernail to kind of roll part of it. Oh no, don't tell me this is the non-removable type. Okay, it's fine. And then you just slowly peel this away. Okay, just like that. Again, peel it. Grab it. Yeah, it must be because it's hot today. And then peel that away. See that? Okay. And one thing I used to do, I don't know if, but I used to clean all this extra residue with isopropyl alcohol, but I think I found that that leaves a layer that's not very sticky, so I don't really do that anymore. And it actually, not only does it save time, but I mean, if your battery breaks again, usually it would be easier to remove, but the adhesive on the replacement batteries aren't as good. So, yeah. All right. This one is tearing. Okay. This guy. And you want to slowly peel it so it stays one big piece. Oh, the tool cut some of the adhesive, so. Okay. Go. So here you can see where the tool kind of cut the adhesive. Apple puts so much tape in this thing. Okay. Alright, then we gotta do this side. It would be easier for me to work on it the other way, but to record it, I have to do it upside down like this. Actually, maybe I can put it on top of the battery box so it's hovering over the screws. Okay, let me do that. We'll use the battery box here. Okay, and we'll go this way. There we go. That works for me. All right, if you're wondering what to do if you don't have fingernails, they grow, don't they? Let them grow. Or you can buy plastic razor blades. Those help with this kind of thing. Or you can use like one of those scrapey tools just to lift up a corner. And then once you get a corner up, you can go ahead and peel it out. Okay. Yeah, doing this in colder weather actually is easier in warm weather. So some people ask me why I don't use heat to get out the adhesive. I don't like removing gooey adhesive. That makes it way harder. It makes it more difficult, to be honest. All right. Okay, I'm trying to stick the little bits onto the adhesive. Okay. Okay, peeling all these. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're almost there. Then we begin the reassembly nightmare. Okay. Peel this. go. Again, if you're just replacing the battery, I don't recommend this video as a battery replacement video. I have a video where I show a much easier way that you don't have to pull the motherboard completely out. You do need to undo the screws to lift it, but you don't need to completely remove it. All right. Okay. This guy. All right, only 2 and a little bits of pieces left. Okay, last one. Let's actually flip it and take the other piece. Okay, be careful, I'm gonna end up knocking everything over here. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead now and put in the replacement battery. So we'll zoom out. All right. So now, just open it up. The replacement battery does come with tools, but I prefer using the tools I have. Okay. Here's what the battery looks like. Okay, and I always peel this off because it doesn't really do anything. The only thing I use it for is to hold the trackpad in place, centered. All right, so we got this. I'll line this guy up. Okay, as you can see, it already came with its own cable, so we didn't actually even need to remove the other one. Okay. This all lined up. Okay, just like this. Let's see here. Get resign. Is that from? Let's see here. Okay. All right, so line up the battery, get everything in place. All right, this piece, again, there's that one screw that we're gonna have to get lined up in there. So get that screw in, line it up. I like to twist backwards to make sure it's going in the right place. Then we can go ahead and tighten this down. I think this has, is there something that kind of keeps it from moving around? You can see there's a little, the little screw mount, it lines up. So the 2 screw mounts actually line up to hold it in the correct place. That's good. Okay. Okay, make sure that's good. All right, now that that's tightened down, we can go ahead and undo the adhesive for these. So we're gonna lift this up, and underneath you have the release, or what do you call the adhesive, whatever stuff. Just peel that off. So I'll peel that side first. We'll flip this back, make sure everything sits in properly. I like to try and push this as far up as I can. Okay. And then you can stick it down. All right, these parts of the battery hit the speaker, so you can't push it further than that. Then we'll just push that down, okay, just like that. Make sure you press it and rub it into place so it stays. Good. All right, then we'll do the same on these sides. Peel off the thing. Kind of a pain. Come on, there we go. Drop it down, and again, kind of rub it into place. Same thing over here. I don't know how people do this stuff without nails. You gotta use lots of tools. It's very annoying. All right, anyways, push that down. Okay, next we have the touchpad, trackpad to put back into place. All right, and in case the customer wants a close-up of the battery, I guess. There you go. Okay. Open this up. Get the touchpad, trackpad cable back in place. Again, you gotta be careful because you can't flip the touchpad upside down. Otherwise, all those little washers will fall out. Get that into place. All right. And then I'll put in 2 screws. We'll go with the top left corner over here. And then I'll twist it backwards a couple times. And then we'll go with the bottom right corner. Go, and then same thing, unscrew it a couple times. The reason is, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of play here with how much it can wiggle around. So after we do that, we flip this upside down or back over. And you can see how this can move around. So we actually want to try and center that as much as possible. And again, that's what I use this thing for. I stick it on there, and then I use the sides to kind of, you see how I can move it around now? So I try and center that as much as possible. Okay. You'll never get it 100% perfect, but you can try. I'll just try and get it as much as possible. Usually you can kind of move it all the way left, all the way right, all the way up, all the way down, and you can kind of go halfway in between to try and get it centered. I think it needs to be a little bit higher. It's a little bit of like an optical illusion too, because the touchpad is a little bit lower than the thing, so the gap here will look bigger since you're looking at the raised section there until you're looking straight over the top. Anyways, now that we've got all of that in, let's go ahead and tighten the screws. So I'll tighten the top screw there, and we'll tighten this down. Then I like to open it up, check one last time. See if it looks close enough that it shouldn't be an issue, bother to the eyes. Looks good. Okay. All right, so there we go. And now we'll just get all those touchpad, trackpad screws back in, and then we'll reassemble the rest. And again, the tricky, annoying, tough part is going to be all the cables want to kind of fall back down underneath the motherboard. So again, one trick is to use some tape to tape the cables out of the way, and I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, last two. Perfect. Right, let's go ahead now and get to taping down the little connectors so that they don't get in the way. All right, so we'll zoom in here. And what I like to do is we'll basically get just some normal tape. Any kind of tape will do. That's just obviously Scotch packaging tape. All right, and I'll just cut a piece like this. And then we'll look for connectors that will get in the way. You see this one? Okay, so what we do is now we can cut a small little tab here. All right, and then from this tab, what I like to do is I will fold over the edge of one, and this will be like an easy peel up release tab. So now we'll fold this over here, and then we'll just tape it down like this. Oh, you get the idea. I folded it too small. Okay. Anyways, stick that on and tape that down. Okay, so basically you do this for those annoying connectors. Some of these you can just kind of push out of the way, so it's no big deal. But the fan ones, those are very annoying. So we're gonna make sure to tape those out of the way. Also, well, you'll see in a bit when I go to tape it. Again, we'll cut a piece of tape. Again, we'll fold over just the edge of one piece. Hold that way. Tape that and tape that down. Okay, you don't need to tape this down flat. In fact, you actually don't want to, because you don't want to bend the cable too much. You're just taping it so that it doesn't keep trying to fall back underneath the motherboard. Okay, so just like that. This one you can kind of just pull out of the way, the microphone. Okay, but then this one is going to be very annoying, so we need to tape that one as well. I think that's the last one that I need to worry about. So this one, you kind of just tape this whole thing, the whole length of it, out of the way, like this, like that. Okay, let's go ahead and get the motherboard, logic board back in. Oh, that fan connector. See, even with the tape, it's trying to go back on out. Okay, let's go ahead and get the motherboard slash logic board, again, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and we got to get this side first. Oh, all these connectors are trying to go back. That's how annoying they are. I should have used bigger pieces of tape. I was trying to use too small of a piece. Okay, again, pull these out of the way. Make sure the rubber pieces do go on top. And we'll slowly work our way. Again, pull, oops, sorry. As you go, you have to keep pulling these cables out of the way. Make sure they end up back on top. Okay. That. Oh, see, that fan connector already went underneath, so I'm gonna have to use the little one of these spudger thingies to help push it back out like this. And then work our way, make sure those cables are on top. Good. Okay, make sure that's good. Jeez. Okay. Make sure that's on top. See that cable wanting to go back underneath again. Make sure that's on top. Okay, make sure the microphone one again is on top. Okay, all these little cables that keep wanting to go back underneath. I'm being lazy and not redoing the tape, and hopefully that's not gonna make this a pain, but we'll see. Okay. I mean, you can obviously see the cables are going back underneath. Okay. Again, you have to kind of pull them all out as you go. Don't forget the speaker cable here. Okay. Don't forget the keyboard connector here. We got the other speaker cable here. Okay. So now this part of the battery connector is going under the board. We need to make it on top. There we go. Okay. Now double check all the connectors. Okay. Make sure you pull the rubber piece back on top. There we go. Okay, so we got these two, that one, this one, this one, this connector here. We can go ahead and peel the tape back off. Yes, we don't need that anymore. Okay. Peel those useless pieces of tape that I put back off. Okay. There we go. Make sure you got the Touch ID cable there. This one and this one. That, and I think we got them all. Okay, so let's go ahead and start reconnecting everything. Oops, can you even see? And you just line it up and click them down. Sometimes can be a little tricky. Okay, make sure it presses down and stays in place. Good. Good. Can be a little tricky sometimes. Why isn't it lining up? What is happening here? Oh, I think it's slightly either too high or too low. This can kind of wiggle a little. Oops, I don't know if you can see. This can kind of wiggle a little, so we need to make sure it lines up. There we go. Okay, make sure it's all good. This little cable. Make sure the latches are up. Pull it back in, and then slide your finger over to latch it back down. Then stick that back down. If it will, it might just keep popping up. All right. You rotate it this way so it's easier for me to work on. Sorry if it's harder for you to see, but it's easier for me to work. Okay, same thing. Use your fingers, slide the latch, and stick that all down. Speaker cable here. I just use my fingernail to pull the tip of it back, and then usually the bend of the cable pulls it back in, but since there's no adhesive strip, I'm going to use a piece of tape to kind of grab that and then pull it and then slide it, my finger over to latch it. Hopefully that speaker cable's connected all the way, because it doesn't have the little thing on top to help it. Alright, then we got the keyboard cable. Make sure it goes down into place. Pull that in. Okay. Hopefully you can see. And then slide your finger over to latch it down. Touchpad, trackpad connector. Might need to dust it a little. Okay. Line it up. Click that down. Excuse me. And then you also want to stick that back down. Don't do this one yet because that's the battery. You don't want to reattach the battery yet. Okay, rotate this again. In. Come on. Ants on me. Okay. All right. So in. Okay. There you go. And And then again, while you're holding it, slide your finger over to latch it down, and then tape. Sorry, I'm not even showing you guys. There you go. All right, the other speaker cable. You get the idea. All these cables are pretty much the same. They're either the press down or these where you pull it into place and then slide your finger over to latch it down. Okay, touch bar connector. Good. All right. Keyboard backlight. Pull that in. Oh, the adhesive. Make sure the adhesive isn't sticking down before you pull the cable all the way in. All right. Go. Okay, the other power buttons. Make sure they're in. Oh, I had it in and then I pulled it back up. Now I have to. There we go. There we go. And the last one here. All right, there we go. Okay, I think we got everything reconnected. Now we got to get all the screws back in. It's a lot of screws. Hope you're ready. Okay, first we're going to do the T3, Torx 3 screws for the bottom here. So we'll do this guy. Okay, got the two over here. This one. Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Okay. The color was throwing me off because the screw underneath that this goes into was also black. Usually they're silver, like this one. Okay, and there we go. Let's go ahead and get all the little connector covers back on. So we got this guy. Okay, we actually need to put in the T8 or Torx 8 screws first. So we have this one because one of the screws for the thing goes into this. Okay. Perfect. And the other one here. Alright, we're done with the T8. We're going to switch back to the T3, Torx 3. This back over there. And this one up here. All right, the touchpad, trackpad 1. Okay. This one, also if you didn't notice, I'm loosely fitting the screw first before I tighten I don't tighten it down until all the screws are in, so that way I can make sure everything is lined up right. Okay, what else? We got the one over here. Then we got the second one here. Perfect. Okay, then we got the USB-C ports. this one. Alright, then we got these other connector things here. You gotta hook this one back on, so make sure you tilt it and hook it on first. There we go. It hooks onto the, I don't know if you can see it. It hooks on there. You see how it has that little silver thing down there? Make sure that hooks on. Sorry for that weird crunchy sounds. Okay. And we'll get this in. That's from random dust crumbs and whatever. Okay. Here we go. All right. What's next? We have the wireless antennas. Let's go ahead and get that back in. Again, this is going to be a bit tricky because this is a little tough to get back in. You have to guide them through the little hole there. Okay. And at the same time, you want them to go up. So it helps to kind of like put a little bend in it like this. Okay. So that it curves upwards. So now when you go, also you want to try and make sure these stay close together. Okay. So now hopefully when you go, it will go up here. You see how this went up? Okay. And then I use tweezers, but you can use whatever, a little hook or something, just to get under here and lift these up above the motherboard or logic board. Okay. See that? Lift that up. Because if you don't lift it up above the motherboard, logic board, it's just going to try and go underneath and you're not going to be able to thread this through. And then the little screw thing, you have to lift that up as well. So wiggle and pull. Okay. Lift that up. There we go. All right, now that we got all of that lined up, kind of hold these two into place, pinch it into place, and then push on the middle. It should kind of stick into place so that if you pull it lightly, you see how it doesn't just come up. Okay, that's how you know it's in the right spot. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and switch to the P2 or Pentalobe 1 or Pentalobe 0.8 screwdriver. We're gonna put the little screws for this in. Okay, and what I do is I'll pinch these together and I'll put the first one, outermost one first. Then we'll get the innermost one. Okay, again, pinch the two things together and we'll get that in. We'll do the same thing on the other side. It doesn't matter if you do the outer or innermost one first, as long as you're pinching the thing together. So pinch it like this and then get that screw in. There we go. Sorry, it wasn't feeling like it was going in easy, which means if the threads are crossing, you don't want that to happen. Okay, and then push that and get that in. There we go. Now we got all of those in, we just gotta get the rest of them. Okay. And the last one for this side. We'll go to the other side. If you want, you can go ahead and plug in the LCD LVDS connector now. Just make sure to hold this into place. Line it up. You might have to pull this slightly backwards. There we go. The reason I'm doing that now is because I want to put all the T3 Torx 3 screws first. Alright, we're done with the Pentalobe P2 or Pentalobe 0.8 screwdriver. I'm going to switch to the T3 Torx 3 screwdriver again. And let's go ahead and get the plates back on for the screen connector here. Okay. Hold that into place. Now get that in. That in. Alright, we'll get the LCD LVDS connector one in. This one. Alright, the little hinge screw covers back on, so it goes in at an angle and then lays down. Oops. Just like that. Huh. Why does it want to keep popping up? That's so weird. Okay, hold that down. Oh, it wasn't over to the side enough. There we go. This one. Just going on top of this rubber thing. Okay, now the last one, hinge cover. There we go. Now all the T5 screws, Torx 5. Right, we got a lot of them. So all the motherboard screws and then the screen ones. Then we can go ahead and do the battery. Alright, so this one. This one. This one. This one. Go over to the other side and two more. This one. And this one. Oh. There we go. Alright, now the screen ones. I'm going to loosely fit them first because they all line up with each other. Okay, and line this up as I screw it down. This one as well, there we go. Alright, we got the one that was holding the wireless antennas. That in. Alright, now we just got to get the wireless antennas in. So let's see if I can show this. They do go under here. Alright, so you want to make sure they're lined up. The way you know is they actually, as you move them around, they'll get caught on top if they're lined up right. So if it's not getting caught on top, that means it's not aligned. You might have to pull it backwards or forward. You can see how, oops, sorry. You can see how now if I move my fingernail on it, it's staying in place. I can push it in. But that one I had to kind of go from the top and push it back a little. Okay. So sorry if you can't see, I know, because there's not really a good way to hold this to do it. You see how it's holding? Okay. Again, if it's not lined up right, let me show you. So if it's not lined up right, you see how if I use my fingernail, it's wiggling around? Yeah. So if it's on top and you do that, you see how it just moves around? So you want to make sure that this is not going to move around before you press it, because if you press it down, it's not lined up. Okay, you see how? Then you're going to end up bending the connector, and you're probably going to end up having to replace either the wireless antennas or the whole. You're going to have someone that's professional in micro soldering to solder a new one of those on. Alright, so there's that. Stick that back down. We'll zoom out again. Oh, now we just need the battery connector. So this one's also T5, Torx 5. Get that screw in. Perfect. And all that's left is to reconnect this. The MacBook won't turn on until you plug it in, so keep that in mind, all right? Or that's usually how it works. All right, unless your charge port is having something weird going on, I think. But all right, get the last cable in. Make sure this goes in all the way. If it doesn't, you can see how little of the gold connector pins you can see. If it doesn't, what you have to do is make sure the connector's lined up, then you push the extra slack here so that it bows up, and then while it's bowed up like that, you can push on this and it will push the extra into that port. But there you go. Then slide your finger over the top to latch that down. We're gonna go ahead and stick this little thing back in. So this piece here, okay. Line that back up. And this has a little kind of thing in it that lines up over there. And just stick it down like that. Oops, didn't line it up right. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and flip it over, plug it in, power it on, make sure everything's good. And if it does power up, we should be good to go. All right, I'm gonna flip this guy back over. Okay, open this up. Plug this in. Right now, if you try and turn it on, you see nothing's happening. If we plug it in, still nothing until push the power button, and now it's clicking. If you can hear that. Okay, usually, I don't know if this model has it, but I would do a PRAM and SMC reset as well. So I'm doing Command Option PNR to try and do, oh wait, actually, I don't know if I want to do that because they have, what do you call? This one, they have the Microsoft boot camp, so I don't want to wipe their boot camp thing. All right, let's see what's happening. Why is the screen not coming up? There we go. It took a while. I think it's because of their boot camp. It took extra long. So there you go. So it's booting up. You heard the sound, so it should be good. And let's go ahead and unplug this, and it's staying on. All right, so we should be good to go. I'll have the customer come pick it up. They can test it, do whatever they need, and should be, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and, oops, turn it back on. All right, let's go ahead now and get the bottom cover back on. So the way you get the bottom cover back on, okay, is, actually let me do that just in case they want to see that as well. In there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get this. You start slightly down. This has these little things that slide under the little holes there for the ventilation. So you have to start it slightly down. Then while you're holding this, push that up. You should see this line up flush. Okay, same thing over here. Slide that in and then do it one more time over here and one more time over here. So you should see these sides line up. You see how it's too much to one side. So what I do is I use these to kind of slide it. And if I can't do it that way, I have to take it back out. But you can see it's lined up now. Okay, now that it's good, push on the sides here and then push in the middle. And there we go. All the clips are back in. We just got to put back the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screws and we're good to go. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, again, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. All right, again, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. Again, I do have another channel called It's Been Reviewed and More. Currently, the review videos are also on this channel, but I'm hoping to split them off to a second channel. so that way it's not all jumbled into one. But if you like the way I do it on this channel, where it's all jumbled into one, then yeah, that's fine. I'm hoping though that I'll get more subscribers on there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.